It's good.
It's 5:32 p.m. The meeting is called to order. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes, WPCA held on May 17th?
I make that motion, please.
Okay, Mr. Flynn, any comments, corrections? Everybody have a chance to look at it? No?
No,
Everybody good? I have one on page 5 at the end of paragraph 1, the very last sentence. Connecticut performed very well and are do very good for the environment. Minor typo. Nothing else? Okay, all in favor?
aye,
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Mr. Flynn?
Aye.
Okay, that's unanimous. Election of officers and secretary. Is there a motion to elect officers?
so moved.
Who was that?
No,
By Mr. Clark.
Clark, right.
Okay. Who do you want to nominate as officers?
The present board,
Mr. Clark nominates the present board, current slate of officers. Are there any other motions? Does anybody else want to nominate anybody different than the current board? No. Okay, so current board is Daleen Bird, recording secretary, Lou Clark, vice chair, Darren Ostafine, chairman. No other opposing motions. All in favor of the current motion, the current slate. Okay. Terranites, yes. Keegan, yes. Flynn, yes. Clark, yes. Ostafine is yes. Mr. Clark, do you consent to the election results?
yes, I consent.
Okay. Ostafine consents. We'll assume that Daleen Bird consents, and that means that the motion carries and the current slate is in effect. Item number 4. Oh, thank you. Authorize the chairman or vice chairman of the Water Pollution Control to execute an agreement with Holzer Electric in the amount of $2.1 million for relocation of sanitary sewer, Wall Street to Knight Street project. Is there a motion to approve the chairman or vice chairman executing agreement? Mr. Terranites makes the motion. Any presentation from staff?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. Including the board package is a June 17, 2021 letter from our consultant, Jacobs Engineering. In fact, Karina Macy is actually on the call tonight. Just in case we have any technical questions from the board, she can help assist me with answering questions. This project has been in design for quite some time. We received bids on June 3rd. We only received one bid from Holzer Electric Company. At the mandatory pre-bid meeting, we actually had 3 contractors attend. We had many contractors pull bids, our bid documents, but only 3 attended the mandatory pre-bid meeting, and ultimately only 1 submitted a bid. The scope of work is right now, currently we have a 30-inch oval pipe that runs under the building at 2 Knight Street on Wall Street. And this project is to relocate that interceptor through a gigantic storm culvert. I believe it's 77 by 121 inches. It's a oval culvert. So the reason why the cost is high, and when the original cost estimate was prepared back in early 2021, we anticipated a range of $1.3 to $1.7 million for the project, with the anticipated range of or amount around 1.5 million. Following receiving the bid, we reran our numbers due to the COVID inflation rates. We've seen inflation rates on all kinds of construction materials, including steel, some concrete, labor. Contractors have been picking and choosing the projects they want to go after. So in this letter from Jacobs, what I tried to include was the revised project range based on updated costs. And there's some explanation behind it. But the new range that we came up with was 1.87 to 2.43 million. That is also based on one contractor bidding. So even though the bid came in higher than our original cost estimate, we feel that the bid is actually in line with current prices, if you want to say based on the market. And this project we need to complete before the Wall Street improvements. It's the city's going to be receiving a grant too from the state, I believe, to do major improvements along Wall Street, changing the road. If our project isn't complete, then that's going to delay that project, potentially impact if the city receives that fund, that grant, or if they were to proceed before our project, we're going to go in and tear up the road after their project was completed. So ultimately, I had conversations with the chief of public works and Jacobs, and we really feel that Holzner, we've done a background check. They can do the work. We have a pretty good schedule, tight schedule to get this work done. The price is, like I said, a little bit elevated from the original cost estimate, but we feel based on the dynamics that it's not overly priced. It's, it's reasonable based on what we're experiencing now.
Can I interrupt you, Ralph?
Yes, sir.
Has everybody read the package?
Yeah,
Okay. Are we all good with it?
How much of it is actually on the private property and how much of it is out in the public area?
So it's actually most of it, because the city has easements on the private property, plus Brook Street is city property that goes through the property. It's majority of the work, it's going to be in the city right away, but we're going to have the impact of work area will be somewhat on private property. And we've been working with the management company, and they're very, basically we're going to sign just a very simple agreement for, basically we're going to, whatever construction impact that we do on private property will be restored to before construction activities. And basically what we're doing is we're going to repave the whole parking lot for them, because we've already, some of our short-term or previous work that we've done a couple of years ago, we've already made some excavation work on their property and just put in temporary asphalt. So we're going to mill and overlay once we're done construction.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
if nobody's comfortable, we can table this, or I don't know, Ralph needs it done, but I don't want to lose Terranites. So is everybody good with this?
are we part of the grant that the state is giving us?
No, we're not. This is coming out of WPCA funds. It's in our best interest to move forward. We'll relocate the sewer from underneath the building, so that way we have long-term, we can maintain it.
Well, it sounds like we got to get our work done before they repave. That seems mandatory. Agreed?
And if we were to go back out to bid, I don't see us getting better numbers, and we may not even get a bidder.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with Ralph on that. I was a little shocked at the price myself, but I understand with the current situation and construction being what it is, that also helped drive the cost up. So I agree with Ralph. Now would be the time. I'm okay with going forward with it.
All right.
It was shocking. Anybody else? Any questions for Ralph? Are we good? Do you want to call a question in here? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay, Clark, Ostafine, Flynn, Terranites, Keegan, unanimous. Item number 5, authorize the Chief of Operations Public Works to issue orders to the contract with Holzner. Same thing, $200,000 for change orders, little slush account. Is there a motion to allow the Chief of Operations, Mr. Terranites?
So moved.
Any comments from staff, or we kind of know what this is? This is if something goes wrong, he's
Correct.
going to, right?
Yep, correct.
Any questions of staff? No. No questions? All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Clark, Ostafine, Flynn, Terranites, Keegan, passes unanimously. Thank you very much. Item number 5, authorized transfer balance in the following accounts set aside 2020-21, fiscal year 21-22 to be used for the same purpose. This is, I guess, money being just transferred into the next fiscal year. 41,687 for software consulting and $205,098.25 for CH Nickerson. Is there a motion to approve these transfer of balances?
So moved.
Okay, Mr. Clark, any presentation from staff?
Very quick. The Software Consultant Associates is for Municity, which was adopted by the city about 3 years ago. WPCA is at the bottom of the list. Right now, they're working on DPW. So that's why we're asking for this money to be transferred. The 41,000 is to cover the first year, the capital, and I think 2 years of operation and maintenance costs for the software. The second item is for CH Nickerson is for Outfall 002. We've been holding monies because even though the project is online, not all the punch list items are done. And we're also waiting to actually have an event to make sure that the system works. So we've been holding money back.
Okay, everybody good?
Yep.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Clark, Ostafine, Flynn, Terranites, Keegan. That's unanimous. Okay, number 7. Are we going to skip this one, Ralph?
We're not going to act on it. If you want any discussion, I can just give a quick 30-second discussion.
This would be the last action item, correct? Is there any other action items? You're looking for any other action?
None tonight unless something came out of executive session. So
Okay.
before George leaves, I'd like to go into executive session.
Well,
We're not going to have time to go into executive session with Mr. Terranites, right?
I have 15 minutes before my next.
Right.
meeting.
15 minutes is not enough, right, Ralph?
It could be. It all depends on what you guys ask in behind, in that session.
It
Okay.
seems important. If we run a little bit late, I'll just let the next Zoom know I'm going to be running a few minutes late. So
You know what? When we come out of executive session, Ralph is not going to ask us for any action. Maybe we could do it next month, or do you need us to know something now, Ralph?
There is one applicant that's been waiting on a decision by the board in regard to sewer appeals.
Okay, but we're not going to be able to act on that tonight, right?
If we don't have a quorum, correct.
We're not going to have a quorum anyway.
Yep.
So in that case, I would say, take your time, explain whatever you want on number 7, and I'll thank Mr. Terranites in advance for jumping in here. We couldn't have got that business done without you. Thank you.
I apologize for having to leave, but thank you.
It is what it is. Thanks.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good
Thank
night,
you.
Good night.
Have a good night. So discussion on item 7 real quick.
Take your time now.
DPW engineering, WPCA staff, and Vero Law are trying to put together a sewer permit process and sanitary sewer main extension policy. So we're developing it in accordance with state statutes and city's ordinance. We're trying to develop a policy that will eventually be presented to the WPCA board for action. But this basically walks us through for any developer or city project that would be looking to extend sanitary sewers within the city of Norwalk. Because there is a public hearing process that the state statutes requires, and that this policy would basically put it in writing, its guidelines. So it's to help explain the process, have it in writing, so anybody can come in and they understand, for the most part, what they have, what their obligations are to submit, who's going to review what, and when the whole policy, or sorry, when the public hearing would take place by the WPCA board. And then assuming that it gets approved, what happens next? Because it's still's got to go through the planning and zoning process as well. So that's what this policy that's being developed by the team is going to help with future projects. So we were hoping to have something emailed before this meeting, but we came up a little short. So we'll go into more detail either next month or the month, or have a special meeting on it if needs be.
I would just like to say, I think it's long overdue. Thanks for doing this. I think the board has continually been confused every time somebody comes before us to try and figure out who's going to pay for it, who should be included in the project, how those people are going to be charged, if the developer is going to be reimbursed, if the city's going to take over the project. And this board has also come up with against problems trying to assess people for private developer sewers. It's about time that we did something to give them guidance, to give the WPCA board guidance, and maybe even work in some sort of equity along the way. So I can't wait to see what you guys came up with. There's a ton of stuff in the Connecticut General Statutes to guide you. The law is very well established, and just a matter of how people get reimbursed. You're not here for that, are you, Matt?
I am not, no, Darren.
Oh, okay.
And in fact, it's a colleague of mine who's taking the lead on that project. So I'm nodding my head because I agree with you, but not because I know the substance of
Okay.
it inside and out.
Okay. Well, thanks. Enough said
Sure.
about that. I mean, we're kind of freestyling it now because we don't have the
Right.
quorum, but
Yep.
Everybody's good. Does anybody have questions for Ralph? Mr. Clark, Mr. Flynn, Mr.
Nope.
Keegan? We're all good? We're gonna hear more. And I'll say it again, I'm very interested to see what you guys come up with. Should be fun. Okay, are the Suez team here yet?
They should be. Hopefully they can hear us and actually speak. John, Matt?
Silence, huh?
I know everybody seems to be having some problems tonight, but I just sent them a new link.
I've been wrong about this before, but I only see 9 boxes, like the Hollywood squares.
I have
And
to
2 of
go
them are
back. I'm
Daleen.
On my webinar.
Mm-hmm.
Bye.
Does anybody else see them? I don't see them.
Excuse me one sec.
There he is. He's under the name Daleen Bird.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone.
So who's on from IT? This is Ralph.
I just saw Marcin.
This is me, Anthony.
Hey, Anthony. John Morrison from Suez is a 10D. He's the 860 number. He just needs to have, I guess, privilege to speak or unmute.
Granted.
Thank you, sir.
There we are.
I see
Hello, Mr.
John.
Marcin.
John,
Can't hear you.
You have to hit #6 to unmute on the phone. Looks like he's still muted.
He is. You want to do your reports, Ralph?
Sure.
Okay, so Chairman prerogative will take the meeting out of order and jump to number 9. But what am I
All
talking
right.
about? It doesn't matter. We're not even in a meeting.
9A is our munis report. And the only thing I want to point out is we're still waiting for the town of Wilton to pay their sewer use fee for this year. So that has not been received yet by the tax department. But otherwise, the numbers are there. If anybody has any questions, otherwise I'll move on to the next item.
Ralph, haven't we asked them to pay their fee before now?
Yes, yeah. So
So why aren't they doing it?
it usually takes 30 to 60 days typically. And I want to say we're about that 60-day time frame. I think it was a couple meetings ago when the
I
bill
agree.
went out.
It seems to me it came up before and they haven't done anything.
So this year with COVID, everybody's a little later. So we're keeping track so we don't forget. That's why I brought it up, just to
Yeah.
make everybody aware that it's still outstanding, but we'll continue to monitor.
Is there
So
any
wait,
kind of penalty that we can levy for failure to comply in a reasonable time?
There is, but right now I would say they're still under that reasonable time frame.
Okay.
If it goes, a
So
couple months.
That's okay for me, but it doesn't, they're the only one that's doing this as far as I can remember, and it's not a good precedent.
Right. Item 9B, financial model. So Chief Carr and myself, we've been working with Woodard and Curran to develop a financial model for the WPCA. We just received last week a draft model. We went through it. It's pretty thorough. We had comments that we sent back, and later this year we will have a demonstration, a draft of the model to present to the board, to show the board what it can do. Basically, it's taking in everything: operation, revenues, expenditures, capital, and basically going out 20 years, 30 years with geo bonds, with future capital projects, and taking a look at our, what the rates would be needed to maintain a certain fund balance. For operating purposes, we like to keep at least 6 months of cash available. So we had a similar model many years ago that our Red Oak division of Arcadis prepared. That was stopped, and personnel had left Arcadis. That's pretty much the main reason why it stopped. So now Woodward and Kern, which has we selected as our secondary consultant for collections. We added this task because they have a very strong financial team, and with everything that we're trying to achieve, looking ahead, it really benefits the WPCA to have a financial model. So I just want to give you a little update on where we are, and like I said, later this year we'll do a presentation for the board. Moving on to 9C, discussion on WPCA projects. We continue to work with Green Mountain Pipeline Services on the various locations project. And we anticipate that project to end sometime at the end of August 31st. Depending on a couple of little locations where we do have point repairs and lining, it could go into September. But right now, everybody's in agreement that August 31st is the goal to complete the project. Part of that project, we've added Smith Street CIPP lining, which is lining of the 36-inch sanitary sewer on Smith Street from Wall down to Moody's Lane. And with the holiday, 4th of July holiday and the businesses, we all agreed to start that project after July 12th. So that project is scheduled for right after July 12th, and it should take anywhere from 4 to 6 weeks, we anticipate. The next item is Dreamy Hollow sanitary sewer improvements. I included a copy of the task order with Woodard and Curran. I don't know if the team or the board knows, but the city of Norwalk, DPW Engineering has hired Woodard and Kern a couple of years ago to do a whole study, drainage study in the Dreamy Hollow area. And as part of that study, they've come up with some citywide improvements. And in order to install this, the drainage improvements, they have to relocate our sanitary sewer. So part of our task order with Woodard and Kern is not just to relocate the sanitary sewer, but also to make sure that we have sufficient capacity and we have the right pitch on the pipes to take the flow that we need to during, dry weather and wet weather. That area has settled. We have some pipes that actually have an inverse pitch or very flat. So there are some potential capacity issues that we've identified that we want to make sure that we rectify when we put the new sewers in. And that's what this task order is for, is the design of the new sanitary sewer. The next item is flow metering. We started flow metering back in March with Brown and Caldwell, and it was scheduled for 8 weeks, which would take us through the end of May. Since we had I think about 8 rain events, but we didn't have that flash flood, like high intense rain impact. So we worked out a deal with Flow Assessment to keep the flow meters in through the end of August. So we're hoping that, if we have this sometime during the summer, not necessarily a hurricane, but a major thunderstorm at some evening where maybe we'll get 2 inches in an hour type of rain intensity. So the meters would be able to capture that event. And part of the agreement is that we would pay for the data per event. So we have basically a flat rate to keep the meters in, and then we pay for the rain event. So that's happening, and we'll have about 40 meters all the way through the end of August. And then the last item is pump stations, the 4 pump station rehab project. And I have a copy from Wright Pierce on services for during construction admin. So basically during construction, Wright Pierce will be on site doing inspections 2.5 days a week. They will attend meetings. They will review all invoices. They'll help. It's basically an extension of the WPCA staff to make sure that this project goes without very smooth, hopefully very few hiccups, and the job gets done correct and on schedule and within budget. We just, we're going to have a kickoff meeting coming up, but the contractor has been on site, just going around and starting to take measurements and, planning out where they're going to be. Any questions on any of these projects?
Can you hear us, Marcin? Mr. Marcin?
Hi,
I
John.
can hear you loud and clear, and hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you now. Yes.
Excellent. All right, we overcame.
All right, so we'll go back to item number 8 for
Thank
your
you.
contract operations report.
Okay, appreciate it. Thank you. I was listening earlier. I just wasn't able to have you hear me. So good to see everybody, and thanks for the time.
You as well.
I'll go through the report briefly and then also touch on the bullet items that Ralph has in the agenda. With regard to the monthly report, it was a good month, highlighted by a year 1 ceremony that we had in May, which commemorated our 1 year of operation in our partnership with the city of Norwalk and the WPCA. So we had still under some COVID restrictions with numbers of folks, but we were able to have a few folks join us for a brief ceremony, including the Xavier Castro, who's the president of our Environmental Services Division, and Mayor Rilling also joined us, and they were able to make a few statements. And then all of us, along with some WPCA staff and some city representatives, did a very thorough tour of the wastewater treatment facility. It was a good opportunity to show the mayor and some of his team, a lot of the improvements and the hard work that we've done down at the plant, and also to talk about the good work that the board's doing and the good compliance numbers that we have. So it's very positive. It's always good, as you all know, to get folks involved, to get them to come out and see the facility. And it was also a beautiful day, so things worked out really well. We continue to de-escalate from the COVID-19 pandemic. We are still at a severity level 2, but we have some reduced restrictions, particularly in place for folks that have been fully vaccinated. And we're hopeful that we'll continue to de-escalate and get back to basically normalcy and in alignment with the CDC guidelines. At the plant itself, we were able to drain and clean FST, or final settling tank number 3. We conducted an inspection of the sweep arms, scum trough, and a bunch of the mechanical components inside of the tank. We did identify some deficiencies inside that tank that we want to correct quickly, and we've been working with our subcontractor to finalize quotes on the repairs and the labor needed to repair that tank. Tank remains offline and clean. We gave an opportunity to Arcadis to do an inspection as part of their facility plan review. And the tank is available if needed in a rain event. The structure is still functional. It's just basically there's rust in a number of key parts of the structure that you could poke a hole right through with a screwdriver. So key parts need to be replaced. Our collection staff continued to make progress in May. We did spend a lot of time on some investigations and some historic issues that we looked into, but we were able to get over 3 miles of sewer cleaning done, about 1.5 miles of TV inspection, and 2.5 miles of SL rat inspection. Our centrifuge continues to finish up. We received word that our scrubbers will be shipped tomorrow, the final scrubber. We have one on site. Hopefully those will arrive either by this week or early next week. And we'll be able to have Blue Heron Construction re-engaged to complete that project. We continue to use the Endemol chemical in the sludge storage systems and processing to keep the odors down. It's been effective, as well as our usual measures of keeping all our doors closed and making sure that we have keeping sludge inventory out of the plant. And we had some good success on centrifuge optimization this month. Working with our polymer vendor, we were able to actually identify basically an inaccurate signal or an assumption coming from our polymer pump, where we thought we were adding a certain amount, but we're adding significantly less than that. So through some repairs, we were able to increase the amount of polymer we added for dewatering, and it's cleaned up the centrate, which is the flow that returns back to the head of the plant, which is an important operational goal. We also had a meeting with representatives from Harbor Watch on May 25th. Didn't do a tour of the plant, but we had a nice meeting with representatives. Ralph and I and Matt met with her, and we continue to have a really good relationship with them. We're going to help them out with some lab supplies. They operate a lab and do some sampling and analysis, and we can use some of our bulk corporate purchasing power to get them good price on filters and some gloves and things like that. So that was a good way to support that program and also have it be a contribution other than just a check, something tangible.
Can I ask you a question about something you said earlier about the polymer measurements?
Yes.
They were inaccurate and you had to make corrections. Why would they be inaccurate?
Because the flow measurement signal that comes back to the SCADA system was based on pump run speed and not on a direct flow meter measurement. And it was, made an assumption on the pump curve and the fact that it was a certain type of pump that really didn't vary in output off of that curve. So
it was a theoretical reading instead of an actual reading?
That's correct. That's correct.
And that's been corrected now that we're getting the right measurements and the right polymer discharge or whatever?
Yeah. So the first part is corrected in that we rebuilt the rotor and stator of the pump to increase the amount of flow. But the second piece we're going to implement is to put an actual physical flow meter in that line as well. So we have a direct measurement. That way, we'll be able to prevent this problem from happening.
And that's going to happen. Has it been authorized?
It's
the
part of
flow
the flow meter is part of the project. The Suez project is part of the contract, so it's our cost. And yeah, we'll go ahead and install that flow meter.
Great,
That's part-
thank you.
Yep. Something that's, something to think about, especially when we're dosing chemicals is even though the math may work on the theoretical calculations, it's always prudent to have a direct flow measurement on any kind of critical chemical addition. Gives you added security. Okay, good question. IPP inspection program continued. We did 59 inspections in the month of May and making a lot of progress out there. And I think our inspector wanted to pass along that the mood is optimistic in Norwalk too among the restaurant industry, and there's a lot of positivity of people reopening and hopeful for a good summer. So actually put that in his report. Regulatory events, we were in compliance with all our effluent parameters. We completed all our samples, and we had another good month of nitrogen of 417 pounds, which was decreased our calendar year average to 492 pounds. Touch on the other thing that I mentioned, the dewatering equipment. The scrubbers are being shipped tomorrow, so we should re-engage on that project next week. The Orchard Street sanitary improvements, we have received a proposal from our lining contractor just recently. And Ralph, Matt, and the team will need to review that proposal and then probably have an update for you prior to next month, but certainly by next month's meeting. Final settling tank 3 we discussed earlier. The scum piping project is a project that was designed by Wright Pierce, Suez, and the city, and we have gotten proposals and issued that work to Blue Heron Construction, who's the same contractor that's doing our centrifuge. So it will be, they actually got some efficiencies in their price because they'd already been mobilized and they can continue on into this job. That job is going to allow us to basically implement a series of piping changes throughout the plant and allow us to collect all the secondary and primary scums in a central location and then dewater that scum to allow us to haul it off to an outside disposal site on a periodic basis. Right now, we don't have that capability. There's a series of small tanks, and there's actually even just an ongoing recirculation of grease inside the plant that this will remedy. The other project that we engaged in is the coating of the sludge blend tanks. We have the large steel storage tanks inside the solids handling building that are used to store the waste activated and thickened primary sludge. That project also went out to bid. We received proposals from 3 vendors. We reviewed those proposals with Arcadis and our team and Ralph. Actually made a slight adjustment to the spec based on our evaluation of it as far as the thickness of the coating. And we're going to proceed with that project to clean, basically prepare, and then coat all of those sludge blend tanks inside and out. So that'll be another nice improvement to that building, along with the scrubbers and the centrifuge project that are going to hopefully turn that building from one of our worst places in the plant to one of our best places in the plant. And the last note on the agenda was the contract year 2 inflation adjustment. We have a specific language in the contract that utilizes a formula that incorporates the consumer price index, or CPI, and the employee cost index, or ECI. And then there's a formula that we punch in and we come up with an adjustment. That formula calculated a 2.3% increase to the base fee starting in July 1st of this year. And we reviewed that with Ralph and his team. And we also had an internal audit of our accounting group review the math and calculations on that, and everybody's in agreement that that number is accurate. And we're appreciative of that, and we'll make sure that we put that money to good use. As most of you know, a majority of our expenses are on labor, and we have obligations to our union group for increases. So it's good that that'll go a long way towards that.
Thank
That's all
you.
I have, unless anyone has any questions.
A couple months ago, there was merger talk with Suez and somebody. Anything new activity on that?
With Borger Pump?
Yep, merger, the merger.
Oh, merger.
Yeah,
Yes, yep. So there's definite activity on that. There will be a merger, that's a certainty. And the schedule for that is probably early next year. And it's looks like all indications that the branding name will be changed to Veolia. So we will likely be a Veolia project this time next year. There's a lot of details that go with that, including your approval of that change. And there's also, a lot of protections under your contract to ensure you keep all the staff that you worked for in the negotiations and all the conditions and obligations that the company has. So I don't see any major change to any of our operations. We're, as you know, Lou, it's a very small business. Veolia and Suez are the two big players. We know each other too. So I'm excited to be part of what will now be the largest environmental service company in the world, and hopefully be able to bring even more resources to Norwalk as part of this merge.
Staying on board, John?
Absolutely.
He's required by contract.
Like I said, I've been around a little while, and I know the Veolia guys just as well as I know the Suez guys. So I think you're going to be in good hands. Ralph will tell you too. They're a good company. They were your second choice, and we'll make sure that it goes very well.
Thanks for that assurance. Are there any questions of Ralph or Mr. Marcin? Any comments, concerns, questions of anything on the agenda or not on the agenda? Okay, I'm gonna suggest that we adjourn, even though we lost a quorum at 5:45. And then we can go into executive session. So Attorney Todaro didn't waste his time here, and we can get our money's worth by hearing what he has to say. How does that sound?
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
I do not believe I got an invite to the executive session.
Neither did I.
Nor did I.
I think you're right, and I think that's consistent. I'll ask the question of our IT guy. Can we stop recording and delete non-executive session folks and just carry on? And I don't think there's anything wrong procedurally with us adjourning now, because the meeting, we don't have a quorum. We can't conduct business if we wanted to conduct business. To make things simple, can we utilize this this channel and simply stop recording?
It would still be live. What I can do is I can see if I can create a private Zoom meeting on the fly and send you guys the invites.
Okay. Then let's do that. And I guess, Mr. Marcin, thank you for joining us, and you can go anytime.
have a good night.
Okay.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
night. We'll see you next month. Thank you for joining us.
All right. Thank you.
Just give me a few minutes and I'll let you know when the link is ready.
Okay.
Go to sure thing. It's weird that Eddie put out the first text and now Pat's
Why don't we adjourn now anyway? Is there a motion to adjourn?
Last year we did.
Mhm.
Good last.
Somebody want to make a motion to adjourn? I mean, technically. Okay,
Okay.
Mr. Clark, it's 6:17 PM. All in favor of adjourning? Aye.
Uh,
All four of us. Unanimous.
Now we move to executive session, right?
Yeah, we're waiting for the link from our IT professional who's gonna get us so that we're not broadcasting, or I guess we're broadcasting, right?
Do we have to get off and then come back on?
No, we're gonna go someplace else and we're not gonna come in. We've adjourned, so wherever we go, we're just gonna stop.
Okay.
I'm hopeful that'll make it a little bit easier because it's quite a pain to go back and forth. But right now, we're still being recorded. The meeting is adjourned, but we're still being recorded and the public still has access to hear what we're saying and doing. That was my understanding from our IT guy.
That is correct.
Thank you. We don't have to hold a special meeting, Ralph.
We're
Mr.
kind of-
Chairman, we have one resident that'd like to speak for 120 Newtown Avenue. His name is Chris Polidoro.
I can give
He's
him
in the
floor.
public. He's a participant.
We've already adjourned the meeting.
I-
I guess he can speak without any effect whatsoever. Right? We didn't have a quorum and we adjourned. I don't know if there's a problem with him speaking because it's like we met on the street. It has no binding effect.
Yeah, he just raised his hand. He's
I can't see him.
He's under a participant attendees.
If I click on that,
I think we need IT to allow him.
I can give him the floor if you guys wish.
yeah, I don't see him, but
Can we hear him? Do we have to see him if we can
Okay.
hear him?
I now see his name. Mr. Polidoro, can you hear us? Mr. Polidoro, if you go in the upper right-hand corner of your screen, there's a mute button there. Maybe that'll work. When I look on the panelist part, I could see his video is off, but it doesn't say anything. I don't even see a microphone. You know, some of us have a microphone with which is muted, and some of us have a microphone that's not muted. Mr. Polidoro does not have a microphone at all. I can now see you. Your video is on. Can you hear us? Wave your hand if you can hear us. He's not waving his hand.
Looks like he doesn't have a mic on the device.
Okay.
And FYI, the executive session link has been sent. Let me know if you've received it.
Okay. You sent it by email?
Yeah, it should be coming from my city email account.
Okay. I did not get it. Did anybody else get it? No.
Not yet.
Give it a few more minutes.
I did get it, Mr. Chairman.
Great. Mr. Polidoro, can you hear us at all? He's not making any indication that he hears us. No.
Is there some way we can contact him and tell him that he is not being picked up and to try again another time, or what?
Yeah.
This seems to be a colossal waste of time.
Yeah, well, we're still waiting for us, most of us, to get the executive session link. But yeah, it behooves us to let Mr. Polidoro know that he can attend the July meeting. Right?
I will email him, and I just actually answered his question. I asked him if he had a mic.
Or a speaker, because I'm asking him if he can hear me, and he's no indication. Okay.
All right, I just got the email for executive session.
So did I. So did I. So how about who has it? Mr. Clark?
I don't know if I'll look, but I presume I'll have it.
Okay, Mr. Flynn, did you get an
I
email?
don't know, this, nothing changed as far as I can see.
Yeah, but did you get an email?
No,
Okay, do you have a way to check if you got the email?
I have to go off screen to do that. I can't.
Okay.
do it.
Okay. Keegan, Ostafine, Attorney Tadaro, did you get the link yet?
I have not received it yet. Continuing
Okay.
to monitor whether it comes in.
What are the issues in the executive session? Do you have to have an executive session?
Yes, to discuss the NIPD's permit
Mhm.
and sewer
We're
appeals.
appealed.
Yeah.
And Anthony from IT, did you send the executive session link to Matt Tadaro?
Just did. Should be coming in right now.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, I just received the link now.
Okay, so Tadaro,
Who's missing it
Ostafine,
still?
Clark,
Did I
did you get
report?
yours, Lou?
I don't know. I have to leave the meeting to go to it and look.
All right. Keegan, you have it. Mr. Keegan, right? Okay. So
I do have
it. Okay, beautiful. So Mr. Flynn and Mr. Clark, you won't know if you got it until you get off of this line, right?
Correct. Right,
Right,
So we hope to see you there, I guess.
right. Thank you.
All right. Bye.
See you later then, all right?
All right. Bye.